Right. Well, look, thank you everyone for joining the webinar. There are loads of people registered for this webinar and loads of you have joined. We normally get about, probably about a 40% show up rate. I think we're well past the 70% now. So thank you all very much for joining. As I said a second ago, this is not about the philosophy of AI and a machine becoming sentient. This webinar is all about how you can use artificial intelligence, and I'll put bracket quotes around that, into your fund marketing. And I think the reason why, we're talking about AI today, because, if you follow anything online, if you look at, anyone who knows anything about technology, they're all talking about AI. And I really thought it would be really worth looking at, really getting into how fund marketers, people working in hedge funds, asset management, and companies like that in our sector, how can they actually benefit from it? And we kind of pulled out 4 key benefits of how using, AI really benefits the fund marketing, the fund marketing profession. So a little bit about ProFundCom, a little bit about me. We've been building, our platform for the last 20 years, and we've really focused around, using marketing automation to help funds raise AUM. We've got over, I think, pushing 300 users of the product globally, which is great. And, I think that today, I think the real challenge for fund marketers is how they build out their go-to-market strategy. And, AI fits in great, but you've got to find a use for it. It can't just be a fancy technology looking for a problem. And that's really where, people have really struggled to deploy AI. Really, as a fund marketer, and in kind of anything you do, it's about creating your narrative, creating your brand, building out a demand generation strategy, measuring engagement, tracking analytics. And essentially, once you've built those, 5 pillars of your marketing, is then basically focusing on creating brand content, so creating content, and then tracking, how that content has performed. And essentially, you're just building out an echo chamber. So you create content, see how it performed, create content, see how it performed. And what that ties into really is that kind of feeds into an automated marketing process. And, we kind of call this the automated go-to-market strategy, where you're kind of building out automations, but at various stages of investor interest, they pop out and, engage with a salesperson or a relationship manager. So it's essentially about feeding the funnel with content, analyzing the analytics, and looking at, the various stages in the buying cycle where an investor would come in and, hopefully create an inflow for you. So how does this all tie into AI? Well, what AI is all about is what we talk about in this webinar is how can you use a statistical element, the statistics of on a large data set, to actually produce enhanced customer engagement or investor engagement, improved data analytics, saving time and cost, and building out predictive analytics. And this is really the concept of, AI is more about automated intelligence, more as opposed to artificial intelligence. And the way, you look at the way we look at artificial intelligence is how can we build better statistical models on bigger data with a bigger processor, so it's consuming lots and lots of data and building bigger and bigger statistical models, and from that being able to deliver that to a fund marketer to kind of cover off these 4 key areas. And ultimately, if you look at any AI that's available today, it is all built around statistical models crunching lots and lots and lots of data. And if you look at, and I know, most people's engagement with AI has definitely been through ChatGPT. That's ChatGPT's model as well. It's using language processing on a massive scale to essentially give you the sense that, the machine is actually intelligent. But I can assure you, that ChatGPT does not understand what it's producing. It's just producing essentially a syntactical and semantical response to an input. And it basically has, it kind of builds out, a kind of model that sits, in a kind of black box environment in some cases, and in a more open environment in some cases. And this is really, while we're kind of getting slightly philosophical, is that this is really where the challenge of AI is going to be in the next 5 to 6 years, is that do companies like ChatGPT keep their black box, closed loop, no one's going to know how we come to a decision, or are they going to make it available to everybody? And when ChatGPT started, I think there was another one as well, they were like, a bit like Google, we don't do evil. But now what you actually find is that they're actually closing down how they actually produce their results. And there's actually now kind of a free-ish version of ChatGPT, and obviously the commercial version. And once it becomes commercial and Microsoft are putting all that money into it, it becomes a competitive advantage. So that's, we're kind of going slightly off track here, but that's kind of something to be aware of. And I think what you've also got to look at with something like ChatGPT, or anybody who owns an AI platform of that level, is that what kind of way it's been biased, whichever your political persuasion is or anything like that, and whether it actually gives you non-biased output. So then you're kind of moving into the realms of free speech, and you're moving into the realms of control and censorship and stuff like that. So it's kind of a complicated thing, but we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about these 4 areas right now. So, how do you, enhance how you engage with an investor? So what we've got here is all down to how can you create the ultimate personalization and make some solid recommendations when you're engaging with a particular individual. And it's being able to use AI to really get to a really granular level in what their interests are, how can you create content for them. So the first part of this is, how do you analyze digital engagement? And this digital engagement could be, as you can see, by the way, on my right-hand side here, it can be engagement with web links, engagement with documents, emails, websites, investor portals, and campaigns. So what this is just a screenshot of an individual's engagement. And what you can start to do is you can actually see very quickly is that, well, actually, this individual is showing an interest in equities, an interest in investments. They seem to be interested in some kind of European fund. And what you can do, you can slightly use AI statistics, but let's use, and actually tune out or tune in and actually remove the noise from the data. And removing noise from data, again, is a statistical element to this. And that's what we're doing here. We're using a very, very simple word cloud that actually, this is not a product tool, but this is running in ProFundCon, by the way, our platform, where you're actually able to start to drill down into the things that this individual, Yvette Lloyd, is showing an interest in. And it turns out that they are showing an interest in everything that relates to investments on your content. Yvette seems to be interested in, and it's also kind of giving you an idea that the type of fund that they're interested in is something that relates to this manager Wilhelm, and you can then dial that further back and say, oh, so really this individual is what have we got here? So we've got the interest in factories, they're interested in Wilhelm. Wilhelm runs a particular fund. So the good news is very, very quickly, you're able to drill down into an individual's preferences. And out of that, you can build some actions. You can automate an email that goes out to this person. If you're sending out an invitation to an event, you can send content relating to that out to them. And more importantly, you've got the ability for a salesperson to actually go in, engage with Yvette, and know very, very quickly the things that she's showing an interest in. And this way of removing noise from a huge data set and then being able to convert that into recommendations, whether that's for an automation, or whether it's for a salesperson to call, it's all kind of using the kind of AI statistical models that pull this data up. And what brings this home is if you actually looked at what we call an activity timeline for this person, there is a huge amount of data to actually pull through, whether they've been on a website, whether they've engaged with the investor portal, whether in this case they've been on a Zoom call. There is actually a huge amount of data that, whilst it looks really pretty, is quite difficult to decipher. So by having this ability to take noise out is really, really useful. Is it AI? Is it statistics? Call it what you want. It is really useful. I've just got a question come in. Is this a Power BI dashboard? No, it's not. This is ProFuncom. This is our product. Okay. You probably can do this in Power BI as well. And I've got a Power BI example coming up. Okay, so that's that. So the next thing you can use AI on, and this really is one of my favorites, is being able to gauge the mood of the room with marketing sentiment. And what this allows you to do, and we at ProFuncom actually do for the last 3 years, have produced a monthly sentiment guide on wealth management, asset management, investment management, and hedge funds. And what we do is we go out to the internet, we look at a huge amount of data around, topics around content around wealth management that's been produced in the last month, and asset management, investment management, hedge funds, and we actually work out from the language what is the mood in the room. So like if you look in this example, I think this is last month's data, is hedge funds were really popular. The sentiment is a positive sentiment as opposed to wealth management, asset management, and investment management. And it's really interesting to know this, because what this kind of allows you to do when you're looking at marketing sentiment or sentiment in a document, it really gives you the ability to understand is what type of language should we be using? Is it even worth right now sending out a even more negative piece about something based on the sector we're in, based on the current climate? And it's very difficult to understand the climate you're in. And just getting that right, just getting the tone of your emails right, the tones of your blog posts right, getting that outbound communication in the right tone is incredibly, incredibly useful, especially as we kind of move into a more, social media connected world, especially for funds. So, knowing the mood of the room, knowing, how potentially a positive or negative article that you're pushing out, a thought piece you're pushing out, what difference does that make to the readership is really worth knowing. And sometimes it's one of those things where, well, actually, if investment management this month is at 10%, do we even send any communication out that kind of would potentially reflect badly on us? Or you could actually send something out that, lightens the mood. So sentiment, marketing sentiment is something that is so crucial, but is continually overlooked. And that's the reason why, you can, there are lots of AI tools out there that, give you the ability to track marketing sentiment. It gives you the ability to take a whole data set. So you can take out all your communications that you've generated over the last period of time and actually see, what is our general voice? Is it a positive? Is it negative? And it's really useful as well, knowing the sentiment of what you're sending out. Because if English isn't people's second language and you're sending out, combined with, potentially good news, bad news, it really gives you a sense check of being able to analyze that data, over a huge data set to actually know what is the tone of your organization, the voice, as we call it. So that's marketing sentiment, really, really important to understand. And what you're also able to do is also not only measure the historic content of what you've got within using AI to build out the marketing sentiment, but also the ability to analyze the content you're currently generating. And there are tools available, and this is our tool, and I'm not going on about our tool that much, but what we've been able to do, we've been able to look at what is working across 10 terabytes of data that we hold, and actually know and analyze an email and actually tell you which parts of those emails need to be improved. How does your email content score? How does your typography and text measure up? And we also pull out what is the sentiment of the email that you're generating, or the social post or anything like that. And what this is doing is basically taking that whole concept of large amounts of data, large data model, huge amounts of processing, and making suggestions on how to improve the content that you're producing. Now, this can be rolled out as well. I mean, this is kind of semantical analysis of AI, but it's just analyzing content. You can also you've got the ability to take your content and actually work out how compliant it is. So, there is, again, a huge amount of benefits of using AI to actually make sure that even before your email or your blog post or, your thought leadership piece or the white paper or anything you're producing, before it even goes to compliance, is very, very quickly being sense checked by an AI tool, just so you know that your risk warnings are in place, your disclaimers are in place, your compliance statements are in place, all those things that need to be there and don't get missed. So this is, again, a really useful example of, when AI is actually being used to, for a fund marketer, just make people's life that much easier. And, and I don't know if anyone on the call has, had the misfortune of kind of sending out a non-compliant email and then kind of getting battered for it. The reason it's there is because it has happened. So, using, I struggle to say the word AI, but really what I want to say is syntactical analysis of data, but AI really just makes, it's just one less thing to worry about. And it's not just saying, the system will, and again, you can just build this out into automations, and it's not just saying it's doing away with the individual. I know a lot of people say, oh, ChatGPT means that no one has to worry about creating content ever. That's not the case. But what this really allows you to do is just one less thing to worry about. Okay, so this is kind of AI doing compliance checks. This is AI, analyzing your content, so that it's not seen as spam. So that's kind of the first part. This is like the kind of enhanced investor engagement. So it's basically, again, using lots of data to personalize information to make sure that, your emails actually get delivered and that you're able to take out the noise from, your huge data sets that you're using. Okay, so then that's that. So the next thing we're going to look at is how does this improve data analytics? So what the challenge is when you're creating lots and lots and lots and lots of content, is that you are relying on the individual to create indexes on that content. So when a tool, when you do a search, on your website, or when you're doing a search for any content, that it's been, indexed correctly, so things get found. And that's fine. But there's another type of indexing, and that's known as tagging. And what this does, and this is, again, syntactical analysis, and this is actually live data from a client of ours. We have anonymized it, by the way. And what we've done here is what our tool will allow you to do. It basically does classification of the information based on the fund. And the system automatically works out, this content relates to a fund of fund, this relates to this strategy, this relates to that strategy, and then automatically, without any manual intervention, the system is automatically creating tags, tagging the content, and then doing the analysis on that content. So there is no risk in this case of somebody forgetting to tag content. There's no risk. And how many times does that happen? You actually forget to tag content. It just removes that. And what this, essentially allows a manager to do, or a marketing team to do, is to actually see very quickly. In this case, it's the equity arbitrage and emerging markets that seem to get the most eyeballs and the most traction, and the global funds doesn't even get a look in, and obviously the Christmas card is in there as well. So what this means is that when you're producing content, it can also look back at historical content as well. So if you're, let's say today you're starting on your kind of AI journey, and you want to know, right, how do our funds perform? How does individual content perform? The auto indexing, auto tagging is an incredibly powerful tool to basically historically analyze your content without physically going into that content and making those changes and manually tagging content. So again, this again is kind of using the same grammatical tech and grammatical stats to pull out these tags and automatically generate these tags, but the concept remains the same. This is very much an AI concept of taking unstructured data, building structure into it, and then finding a context of that data. And this context we're using is funds, and the system knows that what an equity arbitrage fund is, what an emerging market fund is. It's actually kind of building that out itself, and that's very much now into the realms of ChatGPT. So that's kind of the automatic tagging part. The other thing to look at, and I know somebody mentioned Power BI. So there is no reason why you can't build all this stuff out in something like Power BI as well. So essentially, when you're using a tool like Power BI or Tableau or anything like that, is it AI? Is it? And the question is, well, yes and no. And what we've got an example here is of answering the question, hey, Power BI, tell me how my marketing engagement performs versus my inflows into the business. Now, is that clever? Well, thinking about it is pretty clever. Having the data available is clever. And then having the ability to analyze in one place is clever. Does data visualization, is it telling you anything you don't know? No, it's not. It's down to how you interpret the data. And a really good interpretation of this data is in what we call, the ROI analysis. And the ROI analysis gives you a visual, on, how many people you've touched, how many new prospects have come in, but also more importantly, in kind of the new opportunities area, it seems like the more active we are, the less opportunities we generate, which is, I don't know any AI tool that would allow you to do that. And I think that's where I drop the word A for artificial intelligence and just say automated intelligence. So what this is doing, it's again analyzing a huge amount of your data, but it's kind of giving you recommendations like, in this screen, you need to be looking at this. So augmented intelligence is probably a better use of word. So that's kind of the data visualization part. And this is kind of, hopefully I've kind of demonstrated how, using AI, you can actually improve your data analytics. So third on the list is, how do you save time and how do you save money? Well, the way to do that is through automations. And this is really where people get huge amounts of benefits using AI. Because what an automation tool will allow you to do, it allows you to basically say, right, based on these behaviors, send someone an email. Based on this behaviors, invite them to something. Based on this set of behaviors, don't send them this email, send them this email, or invite them to register on the investor portal or something like that. And when you build out your workflow, so this is a very, very standard workflow where somebody comes in, there's an evaluation process, they get sent an email, they wait, then another email gets sent, and then based on a set of decisions, an email gets sent out again, or they form part of a drip campaign, all that kind of activity. What a AI-based automation tool allows you to do is that it in real time, it's changing the paths of the emails that are going out. It's changing the path of that investor journey. And that is, I mean, that is probably the most valuable part of using AI to build out automated automations. So the AI is learning that, this is showing that this branch of the automation is not showing a lot of engagement. Let's flip that and automatically change it to be something else. So this is, this is really now kind of getting into the realms of, really getting small, huge gains from very, very little changes. And we're kind of seeing that the more and more people that are kind of building out these automations that are self-correcting, are kind of getting 10 to 30% more engagement based on these automations. And you can see here, when it says 75, 83, it's kind of working it out in itself, again, in real time. What path should it take? What weighting should I give this engagement? And another really, simple example of this is plainly an A/B test, where, you send out an email to 10% of your list with 2 different email content, and the one that, gets the most engagement, you send that person, you send the rest of the list that email template. So again, it's kind of, that's a very simple type of AI automation, but this you can kind of make it, you can really make these really sing. I've just got a couple of more questions come in. Is this webinar on profile? No, it's not really. It's just all around AI itself. Let me show. So Power BI is a great tool that you can use for this as well. So just as a question that came in. So there we go. So finally, it's kind of the most important part of using AI is predictive analytics. And what predictive analytics does, it gives you the ability to look across all your data and generate actionable insights. And what actionable insights are all about is the ability to look at all your information, the ability to, yes, a copy will be available. Look at all your data that's coming in across all your channels. So investor portal, website, email, social, and then have the ability to say, how can I put this all in one place and be able to deliver this to the sales team so that they actually don't have to go delving into like 20 different systems, but can be presented with a set of data which basically helps them make calls. And what and you can use Excel to do this. You can use pretty much any tool to do this. And what this allows you to do, it gives you the ability to say, right, from all the marketing we've done, if you see on the left-hand side here, what is our low-hanging fruit? Who are the people that are heavily engaged with what we're sending out, heavily engaged with our brand, but have not read anything we've sent them? Sorry, let me start again. That have read everything we've sent them. So these are people who are actively engaged. So what this allows you to do is that it basically allows you to call people up who are actively engaged, but you've never spoken to. And and had you not had the kind of AI sitting over all your data, you wouldn't have this ability. So that's kind of the concept of low-hanging fruit. The other concept is kind of cross-selling. And cross-selling is all about the ability to look at your data and actually say, okay, if we are running a multiple fund, who are the people that are investors in one fund but are looking at funds that we're not invested in? And having that information to hand is incredibly useful because it's the ultimate upsell for a fund manager. Redemption risk. So this is really useful kind of AI for, if you're in the IR team, is who are the people that are not engaging with our content and they are investors. So, as much as you don't want money, you want money coming in, you don't want money going out. So this is the kind of concept of redemption risk, which is basically, who are your inactive investors? And finally, you've got the ability to look at what we call marketing alpha. And what marketing alpha is basically who are the people that have not read anything you've sent them or engaged with any social posts for the last 6 months, but in the last month are suddenly reading what you're sending them. So that is really, again, real gold dust for sales team to really make better connections when they're speaking to people, and for a marketing team to use all this data to surface actionable insights. Now, the reason I've got kind of Dakota, Preqin, and Broadridge and all that there is because the second level of kind of AI that sits behind this is the ability to say, right, of these people who have recently made an investment in a particular strategy, and having, again, that data to hand, having that data pushed into this visualization of all your data, where a salesperson can engage with it, makes, again, a huge amount of difference. And again, this is something relatively new, where people are taking, these vast, these various and vast data sources and kind of making it digestible so it actually has a business benefit. And I kind of the reason why, I suppose, and I've got a couple of questions come through, are there any other tools that are out there? Bizarrely, there are lots of tools that are out there that do every single one of what I've just shown you. But the reason I've kind of spent, and this is very rare for us, that I've kind of shown you it working within ProFundCom, because we are the only, and this is not bigging us up at all, because of our background, we've always thought that as time has gone on, if we build AI into what we're doing and not talk about it, which we don't. If you go onto our website, there's nothing we talk about AI. It actually has a material benefit to fund marketers, and this is really it. So when you have a demo with us, we don't talk about AI. It's just for this webinar that we're kind of really kind of going into our product, because there's just so much AI in it. And the kind of, there is no, if you're a coder by trade, or you've got a big team, AWS, Google, Azure have a whole set of AI tools that you can use to kind of pull out all this information. The challenge, again, the challenge with all of this is that it has to be not, you can't build AI just for the sake of AI. It has to have a business outcome, and being able to deliver insights to the sales team really is the kind of business outcome that we've really hoped that, as I used to work in fund marketing, is really how a marketer is measured. Okay, so that's being able to deliver insights to the sales team. And what that looks like is the ability, as I kind of showed you earlier on, is to actually click on somebody and kind of actually see their whole history. So that was predictive analytics. That's kind of predicting how people behave. That's it. That's our webinar on AI. It's pretty short, actually. It's not, it normally lasts a lot longer, from 45 minutes to an hour. But I hope I didn't go in too detail into what AI is all about, but hopefully I've demonstrated how useful it can be if you're looking to use marketing, to do fund marketing and use it to raise and preserve AUM. So I've just got a whole bunch of questions come through. So yeah, so another question has come through is, hopefully I've answered that question, is yes, there are other huge amount of other AI tools, but they're all disparate. Now, if you want to, I know if there's any tool that you can use, Power BI is not a bad place to start. And you can pull and Power BI does have a huge amount of AI components in that, but it's the ability to actually kind of understand, where do they actually plug in, and like I said, what business benefit does that create? So yeah, so I hope you all found that useful. I'm just looking at if any more. So a question has come in, is how so satisfied customers, do we have satisfied customers, and assets raised and attributed to ProFundCom? So the answer is, I will always say we have satisfied customers. We always work hard to keep them satisfied. But I think what you're talking about there, George, is marketing attribution, is to say what marketing activities have added to a investment into the business. And the interesting thing is that the whole point of marketing attribution is to do the bulk automations, to do the bulk send outs, to do the bulk, outputs. And then, as I kind of showed you earlier on, is kind of bring them into the funnel. And once they're in the funnel, is within your CRM, tracking back to the marketing activity and tracking back to the time that they make an investment. And that is kind of more down to your own CRM configuration and your marketing automation configuration, and kind of pulling that together. So yeah, I mean, but you can use, marketing attribution. I understand is that, you want to know if you're spending, $100 on a marketing campaign, how much investment actually came in. Very hard to do unless you're tracking all the data points, and that is all down to how well your CRM is set up and how well your marketing automation tools are set up. Okay, so thanks for that. Got another question come through, which is, what is the future of AI? I think I covered this earlier on. I think it's very important to understand is that what we're talking about today is statistics, taking statistics, making predictions, and based on that, improving customer engagement, data analytics, automations, and predictive analytics for the sales team. I think, and I think that will only get bigger for fund marketers. The guys at Aberdeen, their biggest hires at Aberdeen in marketing have been data scientists. So data scientists who can analyze data, apply machine learning and behavioral analysis to the data, and actually generate better outcomes for investors and better, outcomes for the sales team as well. So this kind of, as far as, AI in fund marketing, I think most marketing teams need to have an element of AI in them, an element of data science, so they can actually, build out better models and use the data in a way that kind of moves the needle for, assets coming into the business. So yeah, if you're not hiring a data scientist as a digital marketing team, it's something you definitely need to be doing, because most big asset managers and even small and even kind of mid-sized ones, they are pushing their marketing towards data science. Okay, lots of people asking for a presentation. Yes, and a replay will be available. Okay, another question. Okay, on the subject of marketing attribution, to what extent does AI help with tracking sources and opportunities, lead sources, example, understanding the effect of social media in producing opportunities and the effect versus the effect of email? So this is a really, really good question, because what I'm assuming that the question is, or the question I'm about to answer is, if you've got multiple sources of marketing, so social, website, email, and the like, which one actually is producing opportunities within your funnel and is then relating to investment coming in? So the way to do this is how you lay out your marketing automation. So every channel that you're pushing content out will need to have some kind of tagging built into it. Now, the good news is, if you can have a product, and Hootsuite's a good example of that as well, where when you distribute your content through multiple channels, they automatically get tagged to say, the UTM codes that are built are all laid out. So you can automatically create your UTMs. Once you've created the UTMs, the fantastic part now is that as they engage with you, those UTMs are being tracked on that individual. And then as that journey continues, so they continue their journey from the top part of the funnel, they kind of get closer and closer and closer. Those UTMs and those tags stay with that person until they actually make that investment. So what you can then do is one, there's a saying in AI and in many things, a swallow doesn't make a summer. You need a fair amount of data to be actually to say these behaviors gave us the ability to produce this output, in this case, an investment. And if you Google, I think the company Flourish.io, they do a product where you can take this data and just produce a heat map. And the heat map, again, a very, very simple statistical tool, gives you the ability to say, it seems like this type of campaign produced this kind of behavior in the what we call candidate, in this case, a potential investor, that actually led to that positive outcome. And also the flip way as well is that when people are redeeming, what has been their behavior over time. And like Flourish.io allow you to do this. Power BI allows you to do this as well, to actually do that analysis. Now, the part of AI in this is kind of around the statistics and analyzing that data. Now, it just depends how big your fund is. So if your mailing list is, your outreach is 20,000, may not be enough data. If your outreach is like, people that we talk to at Aberdeen and people at PIMCO, that reach is so far that they can the AI actually starts to get a lot more predictive. But that's the challenge with AI, is that it needs of statistics, it needs data to process. So that is kind of the trade-off that you have. So in answer to your question, and depending, I don't know what size of fund you are, I would kind of go down the route of saying, make sure your UTMs are tagged, and then use the AI once an investment is made to actually work out, with a heat map, over time, where did the engagements peak and where did the engagements decrease for that individual. And I think I did show you an example in our slides as well, where we've also have, I'm not bleating about our own product, but we have the ability within the tagging area to see, where engagements peaked and where they didn't peak. But again, you're kind of moving out the realms of being a marketer and into being a data scientist. And what we're trying to do with our product is kind of bridge that gap. But that's enough about our product. So I hope that was useful. Now, if you wanted to, we've got another question coming. So excuse me, sorry, didn't mean to disregard the last question. So this question has come in saying, how do I surface data for my sales team? So when you mean surface data, I'm assuming what you're saying here is that you've got a whole set of marketing campaigns that are going out, and you want to find a way to summarize this data for your sales team. Yeah, so that basically goes back to the slide I showed here. This is basically where we are taking all the marketing activity you've done, all the engagements across all your channels, social, email, website, investor portal. If I've missed one out, sorry. And what we're then doing is we're then saying, okay, here are the people so low-hanging fruit, here are the people that are highly engaged that you haven't spoken to. Here are the cross-selling people where investors in one fund are looking at things they're not invested in, redemption risk investors who haven't read what you've sent them, and marketing alpha, people whose behaviors have changed over time. And if you've got subscriptions with things like Dakota and Preqin or Broadridge, and you've got investor data, you can kind of push this into, for your sales team, so they know, for example, this person has been investing in this strategy. Okay, so that is how you deliver insights to the sales team. So I hope you found that useful. There's loads of people that are still here. I'm just going to give it a few more minutes if anybody wants to ask a question. And no, my pleasure. Yes, the presentation is going out in the replay. Okay, so thank you all for joining. And if you want to get hold of me, you've all got my email because I did email you. And if you want my book on the subject, it's available as well on Amazon. But if you ask me nicely, probably send you a copy too. So all, thank you very much for your time today. And if you're in the UK, have a great long weekend.